Hello, my name is Ari Waldman. I'm a person who stutters. Today is Thursday, September 20th, 2020, the 20th day of the Jewish month of Tishrei, the 6th day of the Jewish holiday of Sukkot, the 4th day of Chol HaMoed. It's my video YouTube recording of the daily portion of the Tanya. Daily Tanya, iggeret hakodesh-beginning of epistle 23. And it's the year 5781 in Hebrew. Iggeret hakodesh-beginning of epistle 23. In the letter that follows, the Alter Rebbe urges Hasidim to devote the daily interval between Mincha and Marav to the group study of Ein Yaakov and to the laws in the Shulchan Aruch that have frequent and practical applications. He introduces the appeal by explaining how sublime is the divine presence that dwells within Jews when they study Torah publicly. Indeed, only in the world to come can this lofty level of divinity be manifestly received as a reward, except when it abides over Jews and within Jews when in this world they study Torah together. B'gzerat Irin, Pitgama, Umamar Kadishin. This statement is made by decree of the wakeful angels and by the word of those holy ones. This phrase is used by the sages and here by the Alter Rebbe to denote eminent Torah scholars who are likened to ministering angels, specifically Chachmei HaMishana, HaMishnah, Aleihem HaShalom. The Mishnaic sages, peace be upon them. Shishanu b'mishnatam asara shiyoshvin ve'oskin b'Torah shrinat sheroyeha b'neihem. Who taught in their Mishnah, if 10 people sit together and engage in the study of Torah, the divine presence, the Shekhinah, rests among them. A similar teaching, the Shekhinah hovers over every gathering of 10 Jews, means only that the divine presence hovers over them in a transcendent, literal, encompassing manner. As explained at the end of chapter 11 of Tanya, in this instance, however, where 10 Jews are studying Torah together, the Shekhinah rests among them. In an internalized manner, Ki ze kol ha'adam, for this is the whole purpose of man, as the Gemara interprets this verse. The entire world was created solely for this purpose. Ve'av gam zot haita kol yaridato ba'olam hazeh le'tzorech Allah zo. Moreover, the soul's very descent to this world as for the purpose of this ascent, which is accomplished through public Torah study. And no possible ascent is higher than this. The ultimate ascent of the soul, the reason for which the soul initially descended, is attained not only after it completes its descent, after it leaves the body, rather through public Torah study, while the soul is still within the body. It causes the Shekhinah to rest in this netherworld, and is thereby elevated more than by any other means. Ki Shechinat uzo, asher b'gavahi, miromim v'ashamayim v'ushmei hashamayim, lo yachal chalato. Amita, for the Shekhinah of God's might, which is in the supernal heights, and whose awesomeness the heavens and the earth and the heavens of the heavens cannot contain. Tishkon v'tit gadol betoch b'nei Yisrael, k'moshe katuv, ki ani Hashem shochen betoch b'nei Yisrael, dwells and becomes magnified among the children of Israel, as it is written, For I, God, dwell among toch the children of Israel. Al yedei asa katorah v'mitzvot ba'asara doka. As a result of their study of the Torah and observance of the commandments in groups of at least 10, for 10 Jews constitute a congregation. Kamosh Amru Razal, Ati Toch Kula. For as our sages of blessed memory said, we infer a conclusion from two appearances of the word toch. In certain specified cases, the sages draw an analogy from an expression in the Torah to the identical expression in a different context. A comparison of the kind, a gezerah shava, is made between two appearances of the word. One verse states, I will become sanctified in the midst, toch, of the children of Israel, while another verse states, from the midst, toch, of this congregation. From this we learn that the recital of a davar shebikadusha, a text involving the sanctification of God's name, requires a congregation. From a verse regarding the spies, where God refers to the 10 evil spies as a congregation, we learn that a congregation is not less than 10 people. The Rebbe Rayatz asks, of all the possible contexts, why do our sages derive this rule from the evil assemblage of the spies? Answering his own question, the Rebbe Rayatz explains that with these words Moses sought to insulate the people from the makif of evil, from the transcendent and most intense dimension of evil. As far as the panimi of evil was concerned, the permeating but less intense dimension of evil, Moses was able to rectify it. Now, since everything in the realm of holiness has its counterpart in klipa, in the forces of evil, it follows that the level of holiness referred to here in the transcendent level. Thus, when a congregation of at least 10 participants engages collectively in prayer or in Torah study or in the observance of a mitzvah, they elicit a response from a transcendent level of divine light, from an or makif that is utterly superior to the light called forth by a group of fewer than 10. Ve'al zeh ne'amar b'kirbeh kadosh. Concerning this, it is written, the Holy One is within you. This means to say that a level of divinity, which is holy in the sense that it is initially distinct from this world, is thereby drawn down and integrated within the 10 or more people involved. As the Rebbe Rayatz explains in the above-mentioned talk, the Alter Rebbe had spoken earlier of the transcendent degree of illumination that merely encompasses one. At this point, the cities, he cites the phrase, the Holy One is within you, to indicate that this encompassing illumination can also become internalized within a Jew. Ve'ein davar sheb'kedusha b'pachot me'asara. Likewise, the congregational recital of a davar sheb'kedusha, a text involving the sanctification of God's name, requires a quorum of 10, as quoted above. Thus, in order that the holiness be within you, it is necessary that the Torah be studied in groups of at least 10. Umishum hachi nami etz tarich lahu l'razal l'milef mikra minayin she'afilu achad sheyoshev v'osek b'Torah kulei. This also explains why our sages of blessed memory had to derive from Scripture an answer to their question. From where do we know that even one person who sits and engages in the study of Torah, the Holy One, blessed be He, sets a reward for him? The Mishnah derives its answer from the verse. He sits alone and studies in stillness. Indeed, he takes the reward onto himself. Evidently, then, a proof text was needed to show that even individual study is rewarded. V'af gam zot lo matzau, lo samich min hamikra, ela likbiat sachar bilvad, liyachad lifi archo, lifi aruch hamrovim. And even so, the sages did not find in Scripture support for that, i.e., they did not find support for the proposition that an individual can bring about the previously mentioned indwelling of God's holiness, but only for the allotment of reward to the individual proportionate to himself and in proportion to the many. If there are fewer than 10 individuals, the reward is divided equally among them according to the version and in proportion. The more individuals participate, the greater the reward for each of them. Aval le'inyan hasharet kedushat hakodesh-beginning ein lo arach aleihem klal. But as to causing and indwelling of God's holiness, the individual cannot be compared to the congregation at all. The sanctity drawn down through group study of the Torah is immeasurably more sublime. V'haha frash shebein hashra'ah likbiot sachar movein limibaye mada. The distinction between causing a divine indwelling, the collective study, and the allotment of reward to an individual student is understood by discerning thinkers. This is the end of my video, Tanya, Day 8. Goodbye.